The Hedgeless Horseman here again. In this video I'll go over some actual company news. First of all, thanks to the sponsors. Let's look what we have here. Headwater Gold significantly expands land position at Spring Peak and Lodestar projects and commences district scale exploration program. So this has been very much a sleeper recently. You know, it hasn't been drill season. Newmont took over Newcrest. They drilled some projects last season that kind of got discarded. I wouldn't say Midas North is discarded. I mean, they hit anomalous mineralization there, but there was no like full bore obvious discovery hole. And you know how this sector has been. It's like, okay, you need something of real shock value, let's say, to get people excited about anything right now, because many people don't have any recent references to anything that really turned out great. So people simply don't believe or have forgotten that you can make money in juniors. The simple as that. That's the sentiment. Anyway, 97% land position expansion. Headwater has staked 583 new claims, expanding its combined Spring Peak and Lodestar land positions by 97%. This now secures approximately 15 kilometers of strike extent along the Aurora trend, which historically produced nearly 4 million ounces of gold. District scale exploration program, a comprehensive exploration program, is underway in the district, including gravity, geophysics, CSMT, geophysics, helicopter magnetics and radiometrics, stream sediment sampling, rock sampling, soil sampling, utilizing Newmont's deep sensing geochemistry. I've never heard about this. Sounds good if it's like a proprietary thing. Drill program scheduled. A multi-rig drill program Spring Peak totaling up to approximately 7,000 meters over 20 to 25 holes is scheduled to begin in the first half of July. The primary objective of the drill program will be to test for extensions of mineralization along the Bear Fault corridor, which hosts the high-grade mineralization at the Disco Zone. So extensions of mineralization, I mean, they're stepping out, basically. They're not infill drilling. They're trying to show that, okay, how do we, you know, get most shock value or bang for the buck? It's probably not infill drilling, because people see that as the most boring thing there is, even though that obviously increases value as well. But it's like, no, you know, they've staked, they're going big, they're swinging for the fences. They think they might have a district. New dug target zone. Subcropping mineralization epithermal veins have been identified at the new dug target area. Vein textures in the area are characteristic of the shallow portions of an epithermal system. Initial rock samples have yielded gold values up to 2 grams per ton, with additional follow-up. Obviously, at the highs of a epithermal system, I mean, they tend to be barren, so just to find 2 grams per ton of gold is actually very high. Caleb Strope, President CEO of the company, states, "We are thrilled with the strategic expansion of our land position, which we believe significantly increases our potential for discovering a Tier 1 high-grade gold deposit along the prolific Aurora trend. The commencement of our district-scale exploration program, together with the identification of the new dug target, underscores our commitment to aggressive and systematic exploration in the district. We are particularly excited about our ongoing application of advanced geophysical and geochemical techniques, including Newmont's deep sensing geochemistry, to explore areas with thin post-mineral cover. We believe these tools will play a crucial role in our efforts to unlock the full potential of the high-grade district." So here you can see, this is Hecla and the Aurora mine. And you see, you know, historic mines here and there. This is where Headwater has discovered, you know, made their Disco Zone discovery. Lodestar, yeah, Lodestar claim expansion. Lodestar, I think, was up here. So they basically staked this and this, I think. So they merged these ones and added this. So here you have a target. This is the new dug target. This is wide open still. So they believe that this is, you know, the Bear Fault. Basically goes all the way. Which, I mean, is longer strike than the... I mean, yeah, longer strike potential than the... what they mined over at Aurora. And I think people forget just how valuable these kind of deposits can be. And of course, I think there's a plant on care and maintenance here, for example, at Aurora. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if Hecla is currently exploring here, actively exploring. I think they are at Midas, at least, with the Green Sinter discovery and all that. It was like, this was a really, really good mine. This is basically where you would want to find a mine, in Nevada. High sulfidation epithermal systems, they necessarily are not huge, but if you find, a district, they can obviously be huge. But the thing is that they can be very high grade, as we see here, and can have very good margins, especially if, again, you're in Nevada. It's like all the infrastructure basically is there. In this case, there's actually a mill or a plant nearby, and maybe a potential suitor as well. And you gotta imagine that Newcrest is obviously not as large as Newmont, which has swallowed Newcrest. But Newcrest did deals on 4 of Headwater's projects. Newcrest are so good that they got acquired. So obviously they think that what these guys, what they're putting together, and this claim block was much smaller when Newcrest did their deal. What they're saying obviously by doing those deals is that, hey, we think you guys are smart enough. We like your approach. We like your targeting. We think you know what majors want. I mean, just look at the people involved. Caleb, for example, from Kinross. So it's like, there's potential here. And now there's more potential. And here you have the dug erosional window, Headwater grab sample, and open pit and erosional window. So it's like, is it a stretch that, okay, you have this cover rock, and you find something that looks like what they're, mined down here. Is that part of this one system, and it, goes all the way here? Yeah, I mean, that's not a stretch really. There are some other pictures as well, but this also goes back to, let's see here, Headwater. Again, it's like puny volume, but still can go up 11.8%. This also brings me to my point, which I've said before. It's like these share prices can be a mirage. Okay, it says that, Headwater is at 19 cents. It's not easy to get a foot, depending on how much capital you have, obviously. How easy do you think it is to either sell or buy at 19 cents? Not easy. And this was 2.3 thousand shares worth of trading. So on the CSE, it's actually 500 shares, and it's up 11.8%. This is a depressed sector. This is a sleeping story. Can you imagine? And this goes like, this is why you can have moves like this, where the junior sector goes absolutely ballistic, because everyone kind of have sold out. I mean, it's crazy. It's like 500 shares moves it up. I mean, the spread is probably that big, but still, imagine if 500,000 shares wants to get bought, or 1 million shares or whatever. This is a tightly held stock, and it also goes back to the thing I said, where you have a bunch of people complaining about dilution, and that's why they can't make any money. It's like dilution. Well, take Headwater for example. Insiders own a ton of the company. The active joint venture funded campaign that's been announced is at Spring Peak, which they just made bigger. Spring Peak Lodestar. So that's fully funded by Newmont. They have a bunch of other projects, but do you want to be out there spending money, or at least a lot of money, if the market doesn't give a shit really what you find? I'm not sure about that. This, by doing this, I mean, they might get more aggressive, I don't know. They might. Still, this seems pretty like good enough. Okay, it's fully funded. Nice. Does it have big potential? Obviously, Newcrest invested in the... Newcrest invested, did a joint venture. Yes, they actually invested because there was a minimum spend. So they invested in this project. Headwater showed they made a discovery. Now they expanded it a lot. And now the much bigger Newmont/Newcrest, aka Newmont, is saying, okay, here, drill some more. Newmont, I think, is a market cap of 50 billion. That's obviously a very high hurdle. But you don't need a Newmont-sized price to make something here. My point is, what's the market cap? I mean, 11.8 million. What is priced in here? What is this market cap pricing in that this is going to turn into? Or any of their other projects? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They have no shot, basically. That's what the market is saying right now. They have, I don't know, 12 projects divided by 12. So you have $1 million per project. And given that 4 of the projects they, you know, for the projects they picked, they got Newcrest to get involved. So you know it's bullshit that the implied value is $1 million, given what the average target quality these guys seem to find. No, so you know the market is totally like bonkers. But now you can also forgive for you know, it's been a sleepy story. It's a sleepy market. It's a depressed sector. And now you can say that, well, okay, if they're, quote, only gonna drill 7,000 meters, how much can happen? That overrides typically is like, well, should it even be this cheap to begin with if they drill 0 meters this year? I don't think so. Given again the quality of the management team, the quality of the projects, they have the biggest major of them all, still involved, even though again they're so much bigger than Newcrest. It's in Nevada, everyone's dream jurisdiction. Well, this is in Nevada at least. No, it's just ridiculous. But you can kind of understand why. Why is it cheap? Well, the sector is depressed. The story has been boring. People have not seen many drill campaigns lead to appreciable value. Value, I shouldn't say. Share price reaction. And, you know, they're doing 7,000 meters, which sounds low, but it's like, sounds low. You have no idea. Maybe they extend the strike or whatever. It's like it's even more obvious that 11.8 million is too low. So it's like, is this going to be the most exciting story this year? I don't know. Does that change the fact that this probably is way too cheap? No. What happens if the sector gets hot again and they have, you know, 11 or 12 projects and they get a bigger drill budget, let's say, and it's like, yeah, we're showing that Spring Peak and Lodestar is like, yeah, this is actually a district play, low sulfidation. Oh, we could have 2 million ounces of high-grade gold here. I can't even come up with a number what that would be worth, let's say, in a few years when we think gold is up again. That's the bets. That doesn't show up today or tomorrow. Nobody believes it, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be this low. But here you have one of those cases where, like, dilution is not their biggest issue, and they're because they're fully funded by Newmont, and they actively, I think, have chosen, it's like, yeah, you know, let's not go too aggressive, perhaps. Because they care about the value of their shares. They care about dilution because the insiders are the biggest shareholders. They're doing what I think, or obviously what they think is best given the current situation of the markets. Magna Mining announces new assay results at Green Hill and an update on advanced exploration. I mean, not super material news. Just come out with more, you know, I mean, in this part of the 109 footwall zones like Bonanza, Platinum, Palladium and Gold over 15 meters. I mean, that's quite atrocious. This is nothing to be sneezed at either. Sure, it's like on a standalone basis. Might not too much sense, even though, you know, 15-meter widths, but 18.2 grams per ton platinum, palladium, and all that. And here we go. It's like, these are grades not to be sneezed at. And then you add, you know, 34 grams per ton. Same here. This carries it, obviously. Here's more nickel. I mean, 2.9% copper and 0.8% nickel, and then 5.9. But you see kind of the, you know, balancing act I was going to say. Typically, you know, higher platinum, palladium, where you have lower of the other ones. But that's the beauty, I guess, of, you know, polymetallic deposit or different zones. Where it's like, okay, one time copper is very high value. Okay, we'll mine the more copper rich, get more bang for the buck. Copper goes down, nickel goes up, or palladium, platinum and palladium eventually goes up. And you'll mine more of that stuff. And again, these guys have a lot at stake. I mean, a lot of skin in the game, and they've done this before. They did. They were flexible with FNX mining as well. So it's like not a barn burner news release. It's just that, yep, we know there's stuff here that you really should be making money on. This should have value, especially for a company that's, you know, about to go into the bulk sample phase on the way to, you know, ramping up production over the coming years. And I hope that the crappy sentiment we're seeing out there, the low nickel prices, I think that's hopefully that's actually going to make it more probable that they can get another acquisition going, because they acquired Shakespeare, the bottom of the, basically the bottom of the nickel sentiment, you know, at a low. Green Hill, pretty close to a low as well. So I hope, and that seems to be worth a lot, so I hope they can do it again, and that would obviously be potentially really material. Brixton Metals begins drilling at its Circ copper porphyry target. I mean, they own basically a small country, funded again by BHP. Circ is a multi-kilometer copper porphyry target on the Thorn project. Surface exposures of copper mineralization have been identified over the 1 kilometer by 2 kilometer area. Rock and soil geochemistry contained elevated copper, molybdenum, and MDRU's porphyry index anomalies. I don't know what that is. The target is supported by a large near-surface magnetic and coincident conductivity geophysical anomalies. So it sounds like basically geophysics and geochemistry points to, hey, you know, there might be a porphyry here. VP of Exploration Christina Anstey stated, "We are thrilled to launch Brixton's first drill campaign on the Circ porphyry target, given that porphyry deposits often form in clusters. The proximity of favorable mineralized intrusions to the known Camp Creek porphyry makes this area particularly promising. The significant intervals of chalcopyrite mineralization observed on the surface, so they even have chalk on the surface, along with coincident geophysical signatures, is very encouraging." Yes, we know porphyries tend to show up in clusters. We know there's porphyries here. So if you have something that the geochemistry suggests might be a porphyry, and what was I going to say? Coincident geophysical signatures. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I mean, the context says that, yeah, you know, it really might be a porphyry there. Are they going to make a discovery hit? Are they going to hit something? I don't know. What's it priced at? 44 million CAD. And of course, this is, it's like you have the Camp Creek target, which got BHP excited. You have several targets, and you're going to be drilling several targets, and you have the JV with Ivanhoe Electric on the Hog Heaven, and you have the silver property at Langus, and they have the Aitlin gold property, whatever. If you take the sum of the parts, and the fact that one project is partnered with Ivanhoe, that, you know, Friedland the Elephant Hunter, and then you have BHP who came in for a second round of funding. What do you think the price is? What is BHP and Friedland? What are they seeing as the potential? Not what I see. What do they see? Probably substantial, given that BHP is the world's largest miner and Friedland is famous for going after elephants and finding multi-billion-dollar deposits. what do you think the market... Is the market excited? Do they think anything at all really is going to come out of this drill season? Again, what's this pricing in? Now, of course, they might end up like, okay, Ivanhoe doesn't really hit much at Hog Heaven, whatever, and they're drilling with the help of BHP. It doesn't really translate to anything. They have some sniffs maybe. Sure, this might look like, oh, all of a sudden it actually doesn't look that expensive, even though, I mean, how do you kill a land package like this with one drill season? You can't, basically. And BHP obviously wants, or I mean, majors want, the district potential. But okay, let's think what could go right. Maybe copper gets going again and they make a new discovery, or they actually hit more of the higher grade core of Camp Creek, whatever. Nobody knows what the drilling is going to show. All I can say is that, judging by the market cap, the retail market or the marginal investor in this space right now is saying there's no chance that you're gonna come out of this drill season and showing that there's something there that BHP has any sort of interest in. That seems pretty obvious, right? I mean, BHP would want something that's worth several billions, not only 1 billion. That's all we know, kinda. So I don't know. 6 months from now, when we get some assets out, I have no idea what those assets are going to be. I just know that BHP believes in this project, the Thorn project. I know Ivanhoe believes in Hog Heaven, and they're drilling. So it's obviously, unless I'm smarter than BHP or Friedland, there's obviously some kind of percentage chance that what they hope is there, and this might be the season that either Ivanhoe or Brixton taps into it or shows what is there is could be there. Obviously they're not going to prove up a full-blown discovery in one season probably, but still, I mean, yeah. So this one I think is going to be, I mean, the bar is so low. I guess that's my point. The bar is so low. There is so much skepticism here. Share count, I mean, very high share count and all that which weighs on the stock. But we saw what happened in Hercules Silver. Pretty big share count out. Nobody believed that stock would go much. One good copper hit and it's like, boom. Churned millions and millions and millions of shares in volume. So, hey, if you don't like exploration risk, I mean, maybe Brixton is not the play for you, but it's like I would at least have it on my watch list if nothing else. Because again, the biggest thing is that what I think are the biggest things in this context is that the market cap combined with BHP funding it, and you get Ivanhoe funding Hog Heaven. Those three things together makes this look cheap. Or, BHP and Ivanhoe are brain dead. But you can understand why it's gone like this. I mean, again, it's like, the market is always right or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can understand the sentiment. Yeah, we've had a 4-year bear market. Brixton has yet to have that, Philo kind of hit. High share count. Probably weighs on the stock price. The trend has been down. People get frustrated and sell or whatever. You can explain it from a psychological perspective easily. Why the share price is here. But does it make sense from a rational perspective? Is this a fair value for Brixton? Given, again, just those two players involved. I don't think so. Juggernaut. Well, and basically, of course, this is pretty much one of those cases where it's like, I mean, it's a very much, let's say, high risk, very high reward kind of scenario. Again, just based on the players that are involved. They're saying the potential is very high for a market cap this size. That doesn't mean, oh, that's a guaranteed 50 bagger. No. It's just that we know at least that the price that they're looking for is big, very big. And BHP thinks there might be a very big price. So if we're lucky, if it turns out to be that BHP's suspicions and Brixton's suspicions were right and they get to show that this year, this could look very cheap in a hurry in that case. If not, this might not look that cheap. Simple as that. I mean, again, it's like you can at least see the risk. And if you're aware of it, it's like, yep. You know, let's say you bought Brixton, and it's like, I'm going to hold this for 3 years. There's pretty much two options. Either you're going to be down, maybe to 100%, but you could also, after 3 years, in case they have actually proved something of significance up, you're either going to be, or the span is obviously, you're up a shit ton or you're down. Maximum you can lose is 100%. Juggernaut mobilizes for drilling on Midas and Bingo properties in Golden Triangle. Dan Stewart, President CEO Juggernaut Exploration, states, we are excited to resume drilling on both of our 100% controlled Bingo and Midas properties after the successful inaugural drill programs carrying out in 2023. We designed a comprehensive drill plan that will allow us to expand the high-grade gold, silver, copper mineralization, the Bingo along strike and depth, as well as drill test what we believe is the most compelling VHMS target identified on the Midas property to date. In addition, we look forward to the new discoveries made by the B-All Syndicate, in which we are one of the largest investors. I actually don't know who the B-All Syndicate is. Yeah, so they're going to be drilling both Bingo and Midas. The funny thing is, like last year, I think all eyes was on Midas, the VMS. And Bingo was more of a secondary target. So the funny thing is that it turned out that, well, and I talked about that in the last video I did about Juggernaut, that the drilling at Midas failed. I mean, they couldn't get through the quartz in some of the shear zones. I think it was, yeah, shear zones. So that was kind of a failed drill campaign. And they got some numbers. It's just not, they were no eye poppers. Bingo, however, that was the bigger surprise. They put out some pretty good news, you know, Goliath type assay results. So they will be drilling both. Let's see what the market cap is today. 10.8 million, I think. I don't know if, well, they raised almost $4 million. Let's put it at 7 million EV, assuming they had zero money before. 7 million Canadian enterprise value. They have one target, the Bingo, which might be another slice of the, let's say, Shorebet type pie. That's probably nothing to sneeze at. I mean, in that case, Goliath was a high probability, or has had high probability drill campaigns. That was the main attraction, or is the main attraction, I think, with Goliath. The Shorebet zone, and I mean they're finding a bunch of other targets, seems to be quite, what's the right word, homogeneous or whatever. It's like it's not like, oh, you drill there, hit, then next to it miss, then hit and miss or whatever. No, they hit something in most of their drill programs. So assuming this is something similar at Bingo, I expect them to hit. And they're also going to be mapping and prospecting on the property, including the double down hinge zone highlighted by an airborne magnetic survey, will be carried out in preparation for future drilling. So that's also a potential slice of a pie, similar to what they've already hit at Midas, or at Bingo, I mean. And, you know, potential another sheet, let's say, of Shorebet type mineralization. What would be great is that Goliath has really good success again this year. That story really gets going. People start to appreciate the Shorebet zone. And also Juggernaut hits similar numbers, keep hitting similar numbers at their bingo target, then I think it could get quite funny. So the more I think, excuse me, higher risk, higher reward is the Midas target for this year, where they're drilling the obvious geophysical anomalies, for example, and they've already hit VMS mineralization there. But that's not, VMS is a bit more tricky, I would say. So it's like either they're gonna hit something or they're not. At bingo, I think they're probably gonna hit something. From 6 pads and 12 holes. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully they do some step outs and all of that. I mean, here you have the bingo drill map. So this is, what is this, like 350, 400 meters of potential strike, and drill here, and it's open and open. So yeah, I mean, let's say they hit on most of these holes. I mean, then it's like a start of a Goliath type discovery. Because if they hit on most of these holes, yes, it does look like it's a relatively homogeneous sheet of mineralization, like they have over at Shorebet. And this is pretty good strike already, and they're going to be doing more grass rooting. So it's like, is it impossible that, hey, 7 million or 11 million or whatever in 7 million EV is cheap now, and 11 million market cap is going to look cheap after this year's drill campaign? I wouldn't say that's impossible at all. Because obviously now it's pricing in that, again, like a lot of juniors, that, oh, you probably have nothing, and you probably have a less than 5% chance of having anything, really. And obviously they know more about this system because Goliath is around. Goliath found that unique discovery not too long ago, and these guys share a lot of people. So obviously they have a much better understanding of how this system could behave than if there was no Shorebet discovery. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the, obviously, the high risk, high reward stuff. I personally maybe don't think bingo is actually a high risk, given that it looks like it's a Shorebet type system. So I expect them to hit the bingo. And the bigger surprise in that case would be Midas. So it's like, hey, okay, last season didn't know much about bingo, so Midas was the flagship project. Now after hitting it, bingo is the flagship project. So this is the lower risk, and I would say the Midas is the higher risk. But you can't really say, again, going back to Brixton, whatever, it's like, we know what we pay for the stuff. If I was 100% sure the Juggernaut was going to prove up a 2 to 3 million ounce discovery here with good grades, we would be all in at 11 million market cap, obviously. And I'm not saying that they would prove that up in this season, but you get my point. We don't know what the exact chances of success are. We just know what price we pay for the bet. And they're going to be testing too. So there's a scenario, obviously, where 11 million looks quite cheap after this season. And there's a scenario where 11 million doesn't look that cheap after this season. If they have really good hits, maybe 11 million will look really cheap. And then they just continue to grow, and we'll be looking back. It's like, wow, this turned into a multi-million ounce system, whatever. That's very, of course, forward-looking statement. My point is that, as always, nobody knows exactly what's going to come out. We can have some guesses, but it comes down to what are we paying for the bet. If this was priced at 50 million market cap right now, does that look like a good bet? I don't think so. At 50 million, you could buy, whatever, tier 3 kind of deposit. But obviously there's a chance that they might have some sort of a Shorebet zone here as well, because this is not far from Shorebet. And we know Quinton has talked about, the piano keys, basically, that there might be a bunch of, let's say a humongous system back in the day. Now it's broken up, so you find these fragments. Yeah, that's the idea, I think, at Bingo at least. So yeah, again, I don't put all my eggs in one basket, especially the high risk, high reward stories. They're more like, you kind of assume that they're not going to be a big success, but the few ones that are, they're going to be paying for a bunch of other ones. That's the idea, at least. So I have a bit of all the companies I mentioned, more in Magna because I think it's lower risk. But yeah, that's about it. Again, it's like, I'm not saying any of these are like, you gotta buy these. It's up to your risk profile and all that, but just understand. I mean, when you understand what you're getting into, it's like, yes, this is, a high risk, high reward story, for example. I might lose money. In this case, Juggernaut could theoretically go to 0 from 11 million, but it could obviously also go a lot higher. And of course, this, I mean, again, just, if we include sentiment, I mean, assuming they actually, prove that Bingo is some kind of discovery, and maybe they hit that Midas, and you add then on, going into a bull market, of course. I mean, you can throw your ideas of what something is going to be priced at out of the window, because sentiment could have these juniors up hundreds of % alone and down 80% alone. And now the good thing is, I guess, that most of them have already gone down 80%. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Not investing advice. Consider me biased. I own shares of these companies. I think all of these I talked about are sponsors. So, twice biased. Do your own due diligence. Don't invest money you cannot afford to lose. And I can tell you, if you think there's anything close to a sure thing in exploration, forget about it. You have to have if you like the high risk, high reward stories, you have to have a basket approach. And the idea again is that the few who actually do end up making a significant discovery, let's say, if they're cheap enough, they can go up 10, 20, 30, 40x. So they could pay for a shit ton of other ones that got cut in half. That's it. Thanks for listening. Bye.